Got your father looking over my shoulder again. We are online. Oh, it's a little bit washed out. G'day. Here I am, another month gone by, and we're up and running. Got very little on the question side of things. So, any questions on the chat? Say g'day on the chat on the side, please, so we know who's here. And say g'day and throw some questions or comments to us, and we can follow up with that. Finbag, g'day mate. How you going? Good to see you again. Thank you for dropping, touching base with us again. I might start straight up, and this one, Zaya's going to answer this one. You might be a bit far away, Zaya.
Yeah, I'll come over.
She's going to come over. So this one's a bit more directed to Zaya. So this is Micah from Austria. I just found your online courses for the permaculture design certificate. I'd be super interested in. Have the following question. I'm in a kind of sabbatical year from work, which includes the opportunity and also the duty to do courses to educate myself. I really would like to do this course, but there are some obligations the course has to fulfill to be accepted for this program. The course should start in November and have a max duration of 2 months till the end of December. Also, there is a minimum of 20 hours per week necessary. This can include self-study time as well as live coaching sessions. This formula, which I'd have to send to the program organisation in advance so that it would approve and permit the course. I don't get that bit. Can you tell me if this would be possible for you or general with this course format? Best, Micah.
Yeah, so we can work with you on that. If you can email us at info@permico.org, then I can work with you on getting that sorted for you. And yeah, we aim to help and try and make things as easy as possible for everyone and make it so that everyone can do this course. So yeah, just send me an email and we'll try and get it happening for you.
So I'm going to comment in regards, not to that, but to the part of that comment is we're changing the way that we do the online. We're going to get it back into a time format.
Possibly, yeah. We're just going to see how it goes. So we'll assess in the next month on the course because people have just joined the course, so we can't just change things on them straight away.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, we're just going to see. It's just that we're finding that people are possibly not finishing, or they don't have that urgency to finish.
And there's less continuation.
So there's less continuation, and there's less people that actually submit their assignments. So there might be people that are finishing the course just to get the information. But I just spoke with an ex-student of ours, and she said she found the assignment was really important because it actually clarified a lot, and she was able to use the information that she learned in the course and was able to put it into practice. So it consolidated a lot of the information that she got in the course. So it is important to get that final.
It's the best experience that we can create with an online, because there's very little practical you can do. And when you do the design exercise here, we've got physical land that you do it on and with others, but it's the best way you can do it with an online is to actually do something so it's your first design, and you learn a lot from that, and it actually pulls in the information that you've learned. So it's quite important to do that.
Yeah, so we'll see whether we need to reassess and whether we need to put a timeline into place for people. The reason why we decided to go more flexible is because a lot of people want to have that flexibility and be able to do it whenever their time allows. But the problem with that then is that they don't have that urgency, and they don't have to have something finished, and sometimes deadlines are really good for people.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they definitely are. We get very creative when deadlines coming because we have to get things happening like in 2 weeks' time. Got an event on 2 weeks? 2 weeks?
Yeah,
3 weeks.
Yeah,
2
2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
Got an event on. Yeah. Okay, so thanks, Zaya, for filling that information in for Micah. And I guess we're going to have a chat. So one thing I can chat about is where am I in the background here? I can't even work that out. There it is up here. Oh, there. Where am I? Over there. There. The distiller. We've got the distiller set up on the wood stove. We have to crank up the wood stove about every third day. It's warm enough now, so we don't need the heater on. I don't have the heater on now. It's been warm enough. It's a little bit cooler tonight, but not cool enough that we have to have the heater on. But we need to put the heater on to heat our hot water for our showers and dishwashing, etc. And so we got the distill going. We need the distilled water for the batteries for the solar system, and so instead of creating waste with plastic bottles, because every time I use about 10 every 3 months or so, I'm using about 10 plastic bottles, 5 litre bottles, or 5 10 litre bottles to top up the batteries. And so now we're going into doing our own, and then we have the options with that setup to start doing essential oil. So that's a new addition to our systems here, essential oil. So we're keen to get there. We haven't done any essential oils yet, so just starting to do some research on what we can do. Excuse me. I'm just smiling at Finn's comments there.
Yeah.
So yeah, the distiller. What else has happened in this month is I went to Europe and back. I went to see her mum and in Holland, and thankfully she got there safely and all went well and came back no problems and no dramas and no crazy stuff. So which is good. That was our concern, obviously, earlier on, which we wanted to go over in June, but things were a little bit crazy still then. But it all came quiet, and so she got over there safely in return, and all's good to have her back. It was good to see her mum, and brought back some nibblies, Dutch nibblies, licorice and stuff, but haven't had any yet. On a regime at the moment, and yeah, possibly interested in where I am with my back. I'm functioning a lot better, getting a lot more done, but limited, still quite limited. I get sore. I've got a cushion behind my back right now because this position is not ideal. Um, Bone wise, all seems to be good. It's just muscles now, and so bit frustrating. Luckily, we've got a pretty good team here, so we're still ticking away, and we're getting a little bit done. So it's really good. Everything fine over here. Still waiting for our first snow. It's one of those long autumns. Okay, so we're having. So it's really nice to talk about the season. So you're having a long autumn. So we've we're still wet, not wet, but quite damp. I'm still pulling out some plants, weedy plants, very easily at the moment. Even some grasses, which are pretty hard to get out sometimes, they're coming out really easy at the moment because we're quite damp. We had rain on yesterday, Tuesday. We had rain on Tuesday. I didn't actually measure it yet, and so everything's keeping damp, and so we're into. It's going to be a really interesting season because we're into spring. This is meant to be dry, and we're having a quite a damp spring. The rains carried through. Our winter rains sort of carried through, and so yeah, it's quite well. Things are just growing. I can do some chop and drop now. We're still wet enough to do chop and drop. We are actually doing some chop and drop. There's the crew had a few people on board here, so a couple extras came in for a day. So we went up and we chop and dropped a swale. We haven't quite finished that yet. Swale that hasn't been done for 2 seasons, so it's well overdue. This is the wrong time of the year normally to do it, but it's okay, as I'm mentioning. That'll be good. We'll have a head start on it. And there were some trees planted in there that were struggling, and so they because they were overcrowded by the mugwort, and so we're addressing that, and they'll kick away now. I might possibly take advantage and get some trees in the ground because I don't see why we're going to have any issues. The forecast is long-term forecast is that we will keep getting rain, and if we do, we're probably going to have a very wet because everything's still wet from last season. So it doesn't take long. Even we had rain 2 weeks ago, and the creek was running, and it wasn't a big rain. So everything's full of water. So that's exciting. Swale down the front, here has been really dry. I mentioned that a few talks ago. It's got bananas on there, and I was thinking, oh, well, the bananas are not doing any good because it's out in the middle of the paddock, and they're struggling. But they're actually starting to get a bit of biomass about them now. I just noticed this morning when I was down there getting some bananas. So um, with this event, this wetter year, we're really going to get a flush of things going on. Probably missing quite a lot of opportunity, but what we do have in place is functioning. So um, nice to see, good to watch and observe, and get the feedback on, so that um, we're learning from it, and we can encourage it to do better next time, hopefully. Remember 1 January and still saw grass. Okay, so yeah, I have no idea what that would mean because I haven't experienced that. For us, um, the extreme year that I found very interesting was the year that we didn't have any rain until okay, we're in the other hemisphere than you, Finbear, but the season where we're supposed to get our wet season is supposed to start pretty much in January, just late December, January. We normally up and away. We didn't get rain until wet, basically the wet. We had a bit of rains come through, but it wasn't wet till January to March the 25th. That's after equinox. So instead of just straight after, sort of around and straight after solstice when it gets wet, it was after equinox. So it was 3 months late, and everything was really weird that year because it was ready. It had the rain to take off, but it's actually slowing down for winter. The days are short, and that was really really hard year for the biology because it was really thrown out of whack. Um, so one observation we had this year: the yams aren't as good as they usually are. The tropical yam that we grow here, we just started. We did our first harvest. Haven't put that photo up. Just first harvest yesterday on the yam, tropical yam, and they've struggled with the wet, which is interesting. I thought they would have gone okay. Um, and the other thing I've noticed is the bees, the European honeybee we have here, have started swarming early. They hardly swarmed last season because they must have known the wet was coming and they struggled through that wet. They must have known that was coming, so they didn't swarm. This year they're swarming very readily, and other people have been saying the same. So we're up to 3 hives now, and I've got another hive on the go. So that's just going to be repaired. I'll make a couple of changes on it, and hopefully we can pick up a swarm and get into that new hive, our Kenyan top bar hives. Minus 50 C or something. Yeah, I have no comprehension of that type of weather. I really, really don't. I've only done a little bit of time in Holland, and it was just a mild period of time. I don't think it didn't snow while we were there. It was just cold.
Oh, we had a bit of sleet.
Yeah, very, very little.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I haven't experienced that. I really haven't experienced that. It's just something that's right off my radar. Um, I'd love to, but obviously I'd need a season or two in that climate to appreciate it. I haven't experienced a proper monsoon. I was up in Darwin but I left before the true monsoon come through. So, or no, I was late. I was March. I was in Darwin, so it wasn't the break of the monsoon. So yeah, those climates are quite interesting to experience. Learn so much from them. Yeah, well, I wouldn't be going outside to pee if it's going to freeze before it hits the ground. I'll tell you that much. My toes would be ice. I can't handle having cold feet. Not for me. Um, it's like what do they call that? That polar vortex when it freezes before it hits the ground. Couldn't handle that. Rightio. So what else has been happening here? I dropped off numbers with the cows because I was a bit worried coming, not worried. I'm aware that coming into our winter and spring, late winter, the feed starts to get, by the time you do a round of all the pastures, the feed starts to don't have much volume of feed because it doesn't grow through the winter. Our summer grasses don't grow. Our not tropic but nearly tropic type grasses, C4 grasses don't grow during the winter, so your feed drops right off, and then we hit dry normally, and so then we lose our feed. So I dropped numbers in cows. Well, I probably could have held on to one cow. We took two off, and I could have held on to one because the feed's going well. It's okay. We're sort of maintaining. Maybe it's getting away a little bit now, but the young calves will hopefully put on a burst of growth and catch up. And that was the plan, to grow out the calves, the weaners, so that they normally I have trouble growing them out. They are maybe just starting to move in their body weight. The jersey's a bit slow anyhow, but yeah. So that's going to be a benefit for them. I'm on the southern hemisphere. It's where we live, and so we're in Australia. So we're in the subtropic area of on the east coast of Australia, and I used to live down on the south coast in Western Australia, which is quite different than here. And obviously, there's this that goes into your winter rains. Here it's summer rain. And and I really like this climate. I really do. I get a little bit hot, but I can't. I can handle it just if I be careful with what I eat. Don't eat too many curries to heat my body up, or Thai teas and things like that. Um, I can handle it just, but any hotter and I'll be in trouble. And then cold, well, it'd take me a long time to acclimatise. I go down to Esperance where I came from, and I struggle because I'm acclimatised to here, and it's not that cold down there. So I really, compared to what you experience. That's the observations that we're into at the moment. Is really seeing what's happening. The bananas have dropped off, which they normally do, but the bananas are really tall because we had so much rain. So late summer rains going into winter, and it was reasonably warm. We had not a cold winter, but a long winter. The bananas have grown a lot of height, and I'm having quite a few fall over, so that means I lose production. Um, so that's going to be interesting to see what happens with them being so tall. If we go into a dry, they're saying we're not going to go into dry. We're going to go into another wet season. Um, um, that then well, I don't know what's going to happen the other side. I haven't really experienced this yet with them being so tall. And the other thing that's probably happening is there's fruit trees and stuff that's coming into maturity for us. They're slower than a lot of people, but I don't fertilize. Um, they're coming into maturity, so I'm seeing the mature plants more than the growing establishing plants. I was a bit taken aback. I went to a friend's place, and his mulberry trees are small, and we've actually lost two mulberry trees this last season. They rotted, and they must have been planted at the same time. I think they were planted at the same time, so they'd done their cycle and rotted and fell over. One's coming back, the other one's not. But his mulberry trees are only just little tiny fellas, so I've got a little tiny one out the back out here. I planted last year. He's got a ways to go. So it's interesting now. I'm getting to experience more mature, stable fruit tree plants, and support species are doing their thing, getting up to size. So that's quite interesting to watch. Melbourne is quite different than here. And they say Melbourne, you can get 4 seasons in a day. It's not like that here. It takes a couple of days sort of a change here. Okay, Finna's question. Tell me about this. They move. Well, so a banana takes 18. So a banana is reproduced by sucker. And so it takes about 18 months for that sucker to be harvested. So the fruit from that sucker. So only one sucker becomes a stem and has a bunch, and then that's it. It doesn't have any more leaves. There's one leaf that comes out as a half-sized leaf, and then the flower head comes out, and that doesn't grow anymore. It reproduces by sucker. So every 18 months, yeah, you have another mature. Well, they come in. I'll start again. They'll come in a series. So you design it in management that you have grandmother, mother, daughter. Grandmother's usually at the stage where it's got a banana bunch on there. Mother's not quite there yet, and about when that about you really want the flower on the mother to sort of be coming out around the time you're going to harvest. So she's 6 months behind, sort of thing, and then you have a daughter coming up that's really young, and so then that means your suckers are moving, and you can move them in a line if you choose, or you can um, that conventionally they do that. They'll move. They plant all their bananas and then they'll make them only allow sucker to grow on one side of each one. So they move across along the line. Well, we don't do the linear thing. We do circles, and then you got to keep trying to make sure that they sort of stay in the circle and don't get out too wide and take over space. Um, so that's how they move. The bananas used to say they're hill climbers and they climb the hill. I find they go downhill. I don't have much hill where the bananas are, so I don't really know on that. Um, yeah, I think the Aboriginals used to call them hill climbers or something. I can't remember. There's something about that, but the walking come from, yeah. So it's obviously it's a really slow walk, but that's how you can say that's happening. You The way I do it is if I haven't done a banana circle, you plant one banana, it will move out and actually become a circle. So one banana will end up with six grandmother, mother, daughters in that. That's usually what I end up with if I don't do a circle. It becomes a circle. A banana circle is not that unnatural because a banana stand becomes a circle, and you usually have probably at 4 or 5, 6 grandmothers in that circle in the center, and you just keep throwing the excess material into the center, even though it's not a hole in the center, um, to feed itself. And so they don't like growing up in that; they sort of grow out. So you've got to keep taking your suckers out on the outside, otherwise you just keep going out and out and out and taking over the space. Right. So what else was I needing to comment on? I was
Sure.
Hmm, I'm just trying to think what happened for the month. I've been in recuperation and frustration. We've done a few consults. Oh, that's what I was going to say today. Um, I don't think I mentioned that yet. I was at a community garden and a bit sore this afternoon. Yeah, so we're doing a little bit of work at a community garden. It's nearly an hour drive from here. Previous student, I think I might have mentioned this before. Previous student got us to come in and help revamp the garden. So must be about 5 weeks ago, was it 6 weeks ago that we did the swales
Um,
before you left? Yeah,
yeah, it was probably less than that, maybe 4 or 5. Yeah.
4 or 5 weeks ago, we went and started putting in the swales. So two guys and a excavator and turned up on site. It's just a really small one, and we're doing these swales. They would only be 12 meters long or something like that, 4 swales. But they got smashed in pretty roughly because we are running out of time, and there was a lot of tree roots in, particularly in the top swale, um, and ran out of time. They only had the machine for the day, so actually left. I was getting too sore, so we actually left them to it after one swale was done because I wanted to say this is what it was meant to look like, and so then they just smashed the other ones in, which are a little bit rough. Didn't actually survey it properly. So today I went there and tidied up the second swale, and tidied up the first swale. The second swale was a little bit messy, so there was a bit more than a tidy up. So the girl and myself were doing that, and 2 other people turned up and just tied it up. And now it's ready for mulching and planting. They've got 2 more to go. Um, Beautiful soil, nice loamy red soil. And it's going to have lots of potential. The thing to take away from this is it's challenging. Because on the day that we did this, well, we're going to Zaya came along as well, um, and then when we had the machine there, and we expected quite a few parents or mothers or and children to turn up and have lots of questions, and there was hardly anyone there, which was a bit disappointing. Probably advantageous because you can just get the job done that you need to get done. Um, and we expected someone today, but basically there's only there were two women turned up a bit later. Um, it's interesting because initial excitement about new project, you usually get lots of interest in there, but hoping that the excitement's going to come once the basics are in. I think maybe it's a little bit too much to people to comprehend with when you're doing the mainframe design. They just want to plant plants, and here we are doing water management and fertility flow and the basic mainframe design. And so it's probably not it's not a terrible thing that not anyone turned up. The girl that I was working with now has confidence. She was it was all overwhelmed because it left a bit of a mess, and now that I helped her and directed her to get this main one, and she went straight onto the second one, um, and tidied it up. She knows what the picture is now, and then so now you can mulch it. There's a lot of mulch. The tree roots come from a large camphor laurel tree. There's 5 truckloads of mulch sitting there, so she'll mulch that with that wood chip. And then I said, you can plant now. You can get stuck in and plant it. It's ready to go. And so now she's excited, and people can probably come along and get their mind around planting a fruit tree. That's probably not going to be and get a lot of appreciation from that. I get appreciation from digging a nice swale and getting that water management in, and that gives you your basic design of your property once they're in, and so then it's pretty straightforward. And I like to make sure that's done reasonably well, or if not very well. So then, yeah, everyday people that are just learning can get their head around planting the plant. So it's good. It's progress. I will have to go up there pretty soon and try and get a bit more movement. Might even have to go up and plant some trees, but that's okay. That's fine. And so next time I'll take Zaya with me, and hopefully I can swing. I was 2 hours on the shovel and rake. Got a bit sore. I'm a bit sore now. Be sore tomorrow, but I'll just take it easy tomorrow. And my muscles need to be reactivated, so it's okay. So that's what I was up to today. It was good to go and do that, and I've done a couple of other consults as well. Finn has a question there. Do you combine roadworks with water management, where the access is already in place? So this is a small garden, so the only access will be walking tracks. So there's going to need to be a couple of little bridges and across the swales, and the main paths haven't been put in yet to make sure that people don't walk over the swales too much and things like that. The swale mounts. But in a larger, so we had a big project hopefully coming on soon. That's got roadworks and stuff in there, so we'll be doing water management with that from the roadworks. So yes, we combine that. So your water access structures focus the water first, use the water as your access, and then structures afterwards. So yeah, because the road can be a great water harvesting capacity, especially in your dryland scenarios. But at any time you're harvesting the water off the roads. I was just trying to think. There was one the other day. They were harvesting half the water off the. Oh, that was yeah. So water was coming off the road, so we're harvesting that. That was a design we're looking at. Not actually a design, just a bit of advice on that one. So a couple of consults have come through lately, which has been great, and keeping our hands in. It's nice to be doing this community garden. So we've got our fingers in a few pies, and yeah, we already talked about the course. That was a month ago, more than a month ago. So yeah, rightio. So I think I've chatted on for a while. Thanks for the comments and questions there. It's been handy. Not a lot of activity, but that's all good. Anything else I need to comment on, Zai? She's off in another land.
No, I think it's all good.
Proposal.
Well, yeah, it's been half an hour unless there's questions.
There's no more questions, so that's all been quiet. So might wrap it up.
You've got that last one with Finn.
Which one's that? The roadworks and access.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. just did that. So could probably elaborate a bit more there. So sometimes the accesses are in place, but then you harvest them the best you can, and direct water into swales to get it across. Because usually a roadworks is diverting water away from a space just by default, because most of the time it's not designed. It's just we need a road and we need to whack a road in and then put some pipes in under the road, and then you have water going causing erosion, and it can cause a lot of problems. So we would retrofit that to harvest from those pipes and minimize erosion, or put pipes in if they haven't put pipes in, to minimize erosion. And then there's an opportunity to rehydrate certain areas and bring fertility across. Um, if you're doing a straight up design with no roads, they need roads in there, well, then that's much better. And it can get quite complex, but it's your intent is to harvest water to rehydrate the landscape and to direct fertility flow. So nutrient moves with water. So that's your main focus and your big opportunity. So that's why I focus on that straight away. In this school garden, it's a little bit of a strain. Well, it's got a reasonably sized greenhouse on there, which is not quite on contour. It's got a chook pen that's running totally the wrong direction. Um, in time, they may be changed, but we don't want to confuse and overwhelm. I don't know, wrong word using confuse. Don't want to overwhelm the people involved. We just want to get some basics in. So we tried to stretch it a little bit to try and get the concept of the, instead of being mostly rectangular space up and down slope, trying to get it rectangular across the slope. And then it has potential to go right around the hill, which is all just grass. And the gardener, all he does is cut grass. There's so much grass there. So, and they don't need that much grass. There's plenty of other space for the children to do what they need to do. Um, so it can all become more garden in time. So get this space, we've made a little bit, not necessarily bigger, but longer. I guess that means it's bigger, but trying to get into the harmony of the landscape instead of just a square lump stuck on the side of a slope, and trying to get some harmony into that, and get some flow, and then get some children activity through it, get them interacting with it. That will, that can be a positive and can be a negative, because they might trash it, but usually we find in the school gardens, once they go permaculture school garden, they won't trash them. They have ownership, and that's where the learning comes from, and then the teaching comes from it. And that's the exciting part. So we got to try and get that. And there is a couple of sections on the property that's got revegetating area and a bush tucker area. So that's probably about 25 meters away. And one day they might connect. It might be a bit more than that. It might be 30 meters, 35 meters away. One day you could connect them together. And it'd evolve from vegetable gardens to through bush tucker to regenerative natural systems, which would have bush tucker moving into that anyhow. And there's a waterway down there, and there's sort of a waterway that comes past it that needs a bit of rehabilitation. So it's actually quite an exciting site. If they can get a bit of momentum, particularly with the new principal, he's on board, and that's why it's restarted. And then if he can hang around and get more of the board on board, it's got a lot of potential. So that's the enthusiastic bit. That's the bit I'm excited about. The girl we're working with, she just wants to get veggie garden going there and get the kids involved, because her kids are at school, which is good. That our vision is to get that really moving out, and because we really don't know where the food supply is going to go to. Well, there's a lot of space there that can grow a lot of food. Put in some syntropic, if that, who'd manage that, I don't really know, but that might come by default if we get to our food supply chains really get messed up. That could happen, and that's the exciting part. That's the potential of this space. So that's why I'm pretty keen to be involved. Good comment about the firewood. Because on my firewood stack's a mess because there's hardly anything in there. Luckily, we've got a volunteer here, did a course here and hung around and helping out while I'm physically not quite up to speed. And so yeah, I got him to put some firewood in the wood heap, but particularly this uses quite a bit of heat. It's not very efficient in that aspect, but we're wasting a bit of heat to get that to work because we can only make that's just over a litre an hour of distilled water. We're going to set up a rocket stove, I think, and so we're not using so much wood because I need to get some firewood. I don't have a season ahead of me. I might have just one season ahead of me, but I don't. I need to get 2 seasons ahead of me to be on the safe side and to have season wood. So yeah, I need to get sorted in my wood stack. Okay, as we said before, I'm going to wrap up now. It was good to have that little comment about the school garden, and yeah, we'll chat soon. So thanks for listening. I'm not sure who was there. We only had one interacting on the chat, but others you're most welcome to if you wish to get in on the chat. And I'd really like to know who's there. So anyhow. Okay, Tom signing out. Thanks, Si, for IT. I had trouble getting my thing to work, but it's going now. So all good. Thank you. Next month we'll talk, if not before. Okay, bye.